It is swearing-in day for elected officials in the Florida State Legislature as the House of Representatives and the State Senate welcome new and returning members.
South Florida's Chevron Jones makes history as Florida's first openly LGBTQ state senator. He represents District 35. Ileana Garcia also took her oath today, calling it the honor of a lifetime. Garcia's journey to Tallahassee comes just 5 days after the Miami-Dade Department of Elections finalized the results of a recount, declaring her the winner over incumbent Jose Javier Rodriguez by only 34 votes.
All right, now take a look at the final tally and the votes that separated the candidates. You can see that a third-party candidate by the name of Alex Rodriguez got more than 6,000 votes. He got that without doing any campaigning or fundraising. He didn't even have a campaign website.
In a statement conceding the race, Jose Javier Rodriguez wrote, quote, "Going forward, I urge an investigation into the straw candidate propped up by the Republicans in this election," end quote. And joining us now is former state senator Jose Javier Rodriguez.
Jose, thank you for joining us. You're on the phone with us. We have not independently confirmed reports of malfeasance in this race. What can you tell us about this third-party candidate, Alex Rodriguez? And we're not talking about the former baseball player, right?
We are not. No, thank you so much for having me on. The issue really is transparency. I can't tell you anything about Alex Rodriguez. He did not campaign. And, you know, there were hundreds of thousands of dollars spent on mailers supporting him in what appears to be an effort to prop up a straw party candidate with dark money. And here in Florida, we have lax campaign finance laws, and we have lax enforcement. And what that means is that the use of dark money and straw candidates, which is what happened in this race, is something that continues to occur. And again, I spoke with Senator-elect, now Senator, she swore in today, Garcia, and I wished her well. But I think it's extremely important that an investigation be conducted. And recently, the last couple hours, it appears that the state attorney's office has confirmed that they've opened an investigation into this.
Well, that's right. That's right, Jose. The Miami Herald just posted a story saying that the Miami-Dade State Attorney's Office is investigating. But again, Alex Rodriguez, how did he get into this race, and what do you know about him?
Well, we're going to find that out through the course of this investigation. There were 3 state Senate races where Republicans were prioritized. One was challenging me, and there were 2 other races. In all 3 races, there were third-party candidates with Republican operative fingers all over. All 3 of them qualified in the same moment, the very last minute. They all had a $2,000 loan to themselves to pay for qualifying fees. They had similar email addresses. And so it was very clearly an orchestrated effort. And if you look at the content of these mailers that were sent out, you know, they're very much designed to siphon votes from candidates. And the important thing, you know, again, it's not a question of which candidate ultimately won. It's about transparency. Voters deserve to know who these candidates really are, where the money funding them comes from. And in this case, the way that they ran these races, we are still trying to figure out exactly where the money came from. They lead in the case, the third-party straw candidate in my race, to a P.O. box in Atlanta. And that's where it stopped. And so a criminal investigation hopefully will get to the bottom of exactly who was behind this. And, you know, again, to prevent this happening in the future, we need elections where voters can rely on the fact that there's transparency and that they can know who the candidates really are and who's funding them, who's behind them.
Well, Jose, you had mentioned that we don't know at this point who is sending these mailers. Do we know at this point who's paying his qualifying fee? Of course, an investigation will reveal further information, but any idea behind that?
We don't know. And again, the use of a loan in the campaign finance document is a signal, because that's one of the tactics that's used to try to evade, again, our very weak campaign finance laws. And one of the things that's come to light after the election and some investigations that are being done is that this gentleman, this third-party candidate, apparently had a lot of debts around town. He did not actually live in the district. He lived in Boca Raton. And so how an individual who owes money all over town and, basically pled to avoid charges of theft or, illegal activity in his business, how that person decided suddenly to run for office and came up with the money to pay the qualifying fees and, the gumption to raise hundreds of thousands of dollars to send out mailers in the district is very perplexing, raises a lot of red flags, and clearly is what is drawing the eye of law enforcement finally to look.
Okay. Jose, thank you very much. And again, the Miami Herald reporting that the Miami-Dade State Attorney is looking into this. This is the race that was decided by 34 points,
right,
and the third-party candidate got 6,000 votes. 34
Definitely
votes, 6,000 votes.
will be an eye-opening investigation.